One crisp morning before the sun really had a chance to warm the grass, I walked out, expecting nothing more than my usual routine: grab my coffee tinker with my tools, maybe sand down some wood in the barn before the phone started ringing off the hook. Instead, I found a sight that made my blood run colder than my coffee: a spotless white BMW squatting right in front of my barn doors, blocking every inch of space I needed to start my day. The bumper flashed a gaudy HOA president sticker, Lisa's way of saying hello, I guess, and inside, dangling from the rear view, was a pineapple-shaped air freshener, swaying back and forth like it was mocking me. Yeah, I knew exactly who this was. Now let me set the scene. My barn isn't just a barn. It's where I run my contracting business, store equipment worth more than that BMW, and where I've been restoring a 1967 fire truck on contract with the county's historical society. That barn's been in my family since before color TV. But to Lisa, it was an eyesore, her word, not mine, a stubborn piece of history in a sea of beige HOA perfection just outside her precious jurisdiction. She'd been after me for years, sending snide notes about my paint colors, snapping photos of my tools left out, griping about my delivery trucks like they were nuclear missiles instead of lumber. But this was a new low even for her. Lisa had gone through the old property maps, found a loophole in the ancient easement, and left her BMW parked perfectly so it blocked the barn doors without technically trespassing. I tried to keep my cool. Just stood there with my coffee, watching it go cold in my hand, and realized today I was done playing defense. I called her straight to voicemail. Walked over to her door, no answer. Neighbor lady Mrs. Grayson told me Lisa was off at her self-care brunch, which everyone knew meant an HOA plotting session with bottomless mimosas. Tried the tow company, but the guy said, "Sorry, need a police report." Sheriff's deputy came out, squinted at the property lines, shrugged, and said, "She's on the public easement. Annoying, but not illegal." That's when it hit me. Lisa didn't just want to be a pain, she wanted to choke off my business, all while pretending she was playing by the rules. Every minute that car sat there was costing me money, jobs, and time. One of my guys stranded at a site. My lumber order delayed, the fire truck project's funding suddenly at risk. All because the queen of the HOA wanted to flex. Around 3 in the afternoon, Lisa finally strutted up, sunglasses and clipboard like she was auditioning for Real Housewives, her little terrier in her arms, yapping like it owned the place. I walked over, kept my voice calm, asked her to move her car. She sneered, told me, "You shouldn't be running a junkyard from that shack. It tanks property values. Be glad I haven't called zoning." When I pointed out she was blocking my barn, she just laughed. "I'm on the easement. Your granddad never fixed the deed. I'll move it when I feel like it." And with that, she sashayed inside like nothing had happened. You know what I mean? That was the moment something in me just clicked. I wasn't going to fight her with words or lawsuits or endless emails. No, I was going to build. Called up my cousin Marcus, who happens to be a mason and owed me a favor. Bring bricks, lots of bricks. Over cold beer, we sketched out a plan: a wall 2 bricks wide, just tall enough to trap the BMW in place, but low enough to sidestep any permanent structure codes. Marcus just shook his head and said, "You're nuts, you know that?" I grinned. "She wants to play games. Let's play." Next morning, while Lisa was probably off spinning or terrorizing someone else's front yard, Marcus rolled up with a flatbed full of bricks and mortar. We worked fast, careful not to touch the car, just a perfect rectangle of red clay trapping that BMW like a trophy. A few neighbors peeked through their blinds, some even gave a little wave or a thumbs up. By noon we were done, and I taped a sign to the wall: "Parking lot closed until barn access is restored." Petty, absolutely, but also precise and a little bit poetic. Lisa's reaction was something out of a sitcom. She came clomping down the driveway, sunglasses askew, froze when she saw her car boxed in. The shriek she let out probably woke half the county. She circled that wall, yelling about lawsuits, vandalism, threatening to call the National Guard if she had to. Her dog went berserk. I stayed seated on the porch phone, quietly recording. When she marched over, spitting mad, I pointed at the barn and said, "You started this. I'm just finishing it." She pushed at the bricks, but Marcus had done his work no way, in or out. It didn't end there. Within an hour, a couple of HOA board members, let's call them Steve and Janet, showed up, khakis and all, waving their clipboards. They declared the wall unauthorized and threatened fines. I handed them my property deed outside HOA jurisdiction and a permit I'd filed months ago for decorative fencing. They had nothing. I even mentioned the historical fire truck and how the county loved my barn. They tucked their tails and disappeared. That night, I found a violation notice taped to my mailbox, excessive brick coloration, signed by Lisa herself. I actually laughed. But then she sent a couple of fake compliance inspectors to snoop around after dark, waving cheap plastic badges. I put up no trespassing signs and rigged floodlights, trail cams. If she wanted a war, I'd give her one. And here's the twist. My old college buddy, Ethan, now a lawyer, decided to do some digging. He found out the HOA charter had expired a year ago. Everything Lisa was doing, fines, threats, all of it was a sham. I printed out the county clerk's notice, taped it to the brick wall, and sent copies to every house on the street. The neighborhood exploded, texts, flying neighbors furious. They'd been paying dues to a ghost HOA. Someone started a petition to kill the whole thing. The local newspaper got wind of it, ran a story with a photo of Lisa's BMW in brick jail. Suddenly, Lisa was infamous, and not in the way she liked. She tried to claw her way out, called the fire department, claiming someone was trapped in the wall. The captain, who knew me from the fire truck project, filed a report against her for wasting resources. She posted this wild Facebook rant, claiming she was the victim, but the neighbors tore her apart in the comments with my footage. Even Steve and Janet bailed, saying they had no idea the HOA was a zombie. And then there was Tom, Lisa's husband, showed up at my door late one night, looking like he hadn't slept in a week. "She's not letting this go," he said. "Watch your back." Sure enough, the next morning, some crew rolled up with a questionable permit, tried to rip out half my yard in the name of visual easement. I called the sheriff, handed over my paperwork, and the deputy shut them down flat. Lisa lost it full meltdown on my front lawn, screaming about the bricks ruining her life. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "It's not the bricks, Lisa. It's you. People don't follow you, they fear you." The wall became something bigger than revenge. The neighbors started leaving little gifts, flowers, fairy lights, a sign that read, "Driveway access denied." Someone held a lemonade stand, a couple of kids set up lawn chairs. We had an impromptu block party in front of the brick wall. They even held a vote right there, and the neighborhood killed the HOA for good. Lisa watched it all from behind her blinds, her power gone. But she had one more move, filed a lawsuit for emotional distress and defamation. Ethan laughed it off, countersued for my lost business and wages. Her lawyer ghosted her, and the county formally declared the HOA dead, even noting my case inspired other neighborhoods to check their own charters. One evening, Tom came by again, asked if I'd take down the wall so Lisa could get her car out. He swore up and down there'd be no drama. I agreed, not for her, but because sometimes you need closure. Marcus and I pulled down one side at dawn, stacked the bricks for reuse. Lisa drove off without a word. We left the rest of the wall up, turned it into a little neighborhood nook, bookshelf, murals, even a spot for lemonade stands. When the day came to finally unveil the restored fire truck, the whole street showed up. Brass band kids in the cab, speeches about family and standing up for what's right. I thanked my grandfather, my neighbors, even the truck for teaching us what's worth fighting for. Lisa. She watched from her window alone, her clipboard nowhere in sight. I heard she tried to sell the house, but nobody wanted a place with that kind of reputation. As for me, I found a GPS tracker under one of the last bricks, a final act of Lisa's paranoia, tossed it in the trash and moved on. That wall wasn't just bricks. It was a line in the sand, a mirror really showing Lisa and anyone else like her what happens when you try to rule with fear instead of respect. In the end, it freed the whole neighborhood. And it proves sometimes the loudest message isn't a shout. It's a boundary built to last. So tell me, was I right or did I go too far? I'd love to hear where you stand on community justice and knowing when enough is enough.